Amelia Earhart's name evokes an enduring image, the fearless, trailblazing aviator who soared beyond the limits imposed by society and set new dreams in motion for generations to come. To truly understand the lasting impact of her story, we must first meet the person behind the legend, a young girl born on July 24, 1897, in Atchison, Kansas, whose spirit was as untamed as the open skies she would one day conquer. Growing up in Atchison, Amelia Mary Earhart was anything but conventional. From climbing trees to hunting rats, she exhibited a restless energy and independence that defied the rigid gender norms of her time. While most girls were steered toward quiet domestic roles, Amelia's adventurous heart beat to a different rhythm. She was determined to carve out her own path, one defined not by expectation but by possibility. This daring spirit found its calling in the skies. In 1920, when Amelia took her first flight, she experienced a transformative moment, feeling the rush of defying gravity and savoring the freedom of flight. As she famously recalled, "As soon as we left the ground, I knew I had to fly." That fleeting ride ignited a passion so fierce that Amelia would make the pursuit of flying her life's mission, funding lessons through odd jobs and standing firm in a field overwhelmingly dominated by men. Her public work went far beyond personal ambition. Earhart became much more than an aviator. She embodied the hopes of women everywhere, using her renown to champion equality and inspire change. Her persona merged daring achievement with a quiet humility, enchanting the public and turning her into a cultural icon. She wasn't just breaking records, she was breaking barriers. Earhart's milestones were as remarkable as the era she lived in. After earning her pilot's license in 1921, she quickly demonstrated her prowess, setting a women's altitude record at 14,000 feet in 1922. Her first brush with transatlantic flight came in 1928, not at the controls, but as a passenger. Still, this pioneering journey catapulted her to global fame. Despite modestly calling herself a sack of potatoes, the world saw in her a bold heroine, admired and celebrated. Yet she was far from content being a passenger on history's flight. In 1932, she fulfilled her destiny by becoming the first woman to fly solo nonstop across the Atlantic Ocean, soaring from Newfoundland to Ireland in under 15 hours. For this extraordinary feat, the U.S. Congress awarded her the Distinguished Flying Cross, affirming her place among aviation's elite. But Amelia's horizon kept extending. She achieved other groundbreaking flights, becoming the first to fly solo from Hawaii to California and from Mexico City to Newark, navigating some of the most hazardous routes of her time. Beyond her feats, Earhart also played a vital role in fostering community and advocacy. As a founder and the first president of the 99s, she built a sisterhood of women pilots, encouraging others to take to the skies. She actively campaigned for the Equal Rights Amendment, wielding her influence to push for societal transformation beyond aviation. Amelia Earhart's life was a testament to courage, determination, and the refusal to accept the status quo, not just as a woman but as a human being chasing dreams. Her story resonated deeply across cultural lines, inspiring not only fellow aviators but also women entering STEM fields and society at large. Yet her legacy is tinged with profound mystery. The world's fascination with Earhart is inseparable from the unresolved fate that ends her narrative. On July 2, 1937, she and her navigator, Fred Noonan, set off on the most ambitious chapter of her career, the attempt to circumnavigate the globe. This journey promised to be her most daring and challenging. When she vanished over the vast Pacific during a critical leg from New Guinea to Howland Island, the disappearance was no mere tragic accident but a puzzle that captured and held global attention. The public was not just mourning a lost flight. They were grieving the silence left by a pioneer who had redefined what was possible. Earhart's vanishing transformed her from a historical figure into an eternal enigma, a symbol of human ambition's intersection with the unknown. Her story transcended aviation and became a narrative about courage, loss, and the enduring hope for discovery. Through decades of searches, countless books, movies, and ongoing investigations, Amelia Earhart has remained a beacon, a reminder of the daring heights one can reach and the mysteries that lie just beyond the horizon. As we delve deeper into the details of her last flight, the plane, and the efforts to unravel her fate, it's essential to remember the woman at the heart of this story, a trailblazer whose spirit continues to inspire, challenge, and captivate the world. Amelia Earhart's final journey was marked by a blend of relentless ambition and unforeseen challenges, culminating in one of the most gripping and enduring mysteries of aviation history. By 1937, Earhart was preparing to make her most daring attempt yet, a circumnavigation of the globe by air, a feat demanding not only extraordinary skill and courage but also meticulous planning and flawless execution. Central to this mission was the Lockheed Electra 10E, a sleek, twin-engine aircraft custom-built to meet the demands of such an arduous voyage. This plane, funded through Purdue University's Amelia Earhart Fund for Aeronautical Research, was equipped with the latest technology of the era. Its design embodied the promise of progress and the spirit of adventure that Earhart so vividly represented. However, the journey did not begin smoothly. On her first attempt in March 1937, a mishap on the Honolulu runway severely damaged the Electra, reportedly from a blown tire causing a ground loop. Though Earhart, her navigator Fred Noonan, and her crew escaped unharmed, the damage was extensive enough to force the aircraft to undergo repairs that would delay the mission for several months. This setback also led to a significant shift in her original flight plan. Initially, Earhart intended to fly westward starting from California, but after the accident, she reversed direction and began her journey eastward from Miami in late May. This change was informed by seasonal weather considerations, reflecting the calculated risk and adaptive strategy that characterized Earhart's approach to aviation. As their voyage unfolded, Earhart and Noonan traversed daunting stretches, from South America across Africa, India, and Southeast Asia, logging some 22,000 miles before reaching the critical departure point of Lae, New Guinea, on June 29, 1937. It was from here that they embarked on the most perilous leg of their journey, a 2,227 nautical mile flight across the expanse of the Pacific to Howland Island, a tiny speck of land scarcely 3 kilometers long and 1.6 kilometers wide, virtually invisible amid the vast blue ocean. The precision required to locate Howland Island was staggering. Even a small navigational error could spell disaster on an unforgiving oceanic stage where rescue was uncertain. To aid in this daunting navigational challenge, the United States Coast Guard positioned the cutter Itasca near Howland Island. This vessel was to serve as a radio and navigation beacon, providing much-needed assistance by relaying position information and weather updates. The Itasca was equipped to communicate with Earhart's Electra, theoretically offering a safety net for the aviators as they approached the tiny island. Yet, the highly technical nature of the endeavor and the fragile state of aviation technology of that era made this support far from foolproof. As Earhart and Noonan neared Howland Island on the morning of July 2, 1937, a troubling pattern of communication difficulties emerged. The Itasca's radio receivers intermittently picked up Earhart's voice, the strength of the signals waxing and waning, suggesting fluctuating distances as she drew closer. Yet none of her transmissions contained clear positional information, and despite repeated attempts, Earhart was unable to hear any signals from the Itasca. This critical breakdown in two-way communication meant she was effectively flying without the lifeline that could have guided her safely to the island. What followed was a series of desperate, fragmented radio exchanges filled with uncertainty and increasing urgency. The last confirmed message received by the Itasca, at approximately 8:43 a.m. local time, encapsulates the growing crisis in stark terms. Earhart reported, "We must be on you now but cannot see you. Running out of gas. Only 1/2 hour left. Been unable to reach you by radio. We are flying at 1,000 feet. These words reveal the tension and dire circumstances, running on dwindling fuel reserves, flying low in hopes of sighting land, and frustration born from failed communication attempts. Shortly after, the radio went silent, marking the final known transmission from Earhart and Noonan. A closer analysis of the radio situation uncovers a convergence of technical setbacks and human errors that compounded the tragedy. Earlier repairs to the Electra retrospectively revealed a critical misstep: the removal of the trailing antenna, a 250-foot flexible wire essential for effective long-distance radio communication and for the shipboard direction finders to obtain accurate bearings. Without it, signals weakened dramatically, severely limiting the plane's ability to establish two-way contact with the Itasca. Compounding this was the inadvertent designation of incorrect frequencies. Earhart instructed the Itasca to broadcast on a frequency her aircraft's navigation equipment could not effectively utilize. On top of that, a malfunction in Earhart's receiver likely prevented her from picking up any transmissions from the ship at all, crippling coordination efforts. These electrical and mechanical misfortunes left Earhart and Noonan navigating blind across a vast and remote ocean, reliant on dead reckoning and navigating solely by the stars and compass, a formidable challenge even for the most experienced. The implications of these failures were profound, turning what should have been an integrated support system into a disjointed lifeline, severed at its most critical moment. Despite the silence that followed the last transmission, numerous amateur and professional radio operators reported hearing faint signals on Earhart's designated frequencies in the days after the disappearance. Some of these transmissions, emanating from various points across the Central Pacific, included pleas for bearings and cries for help that seemed to align closely with Earhart's known radio habits and frequencies. If genuine, these signals suggest that the Electra may have survived an initial water landing or forced landing on land, and that Earhart and Noonan may have attempted to continue communication from an unknown location. However, official search and rescue efforts in 1937 found no conclusive debris or evidence tying these signals to the lost flight. The puzzle deepened, and speculation swirled about where the plane might have gone down or if its occupants had survived temporarily. Returning to the moment of departure from Lae, New Guinea, there were signs of mechanical and communication challenges even then. Reports from local airline officials indicated that the Electra's maintenance team had to address various issues before takeoff, including replacing spark plugs, repairing fuel pumps, and dealing with persistent radio troubles. The on-board wireless operator struggled to establish contact during the preceding flight from Darwin to Lae, and Earhart herself remarked on discrepancies with reported radio wavelengths, raising early forewarnings about the reliability of their communication systems. All these elements, technical setbacks, navigational trials, deteriorating radio contact, and the vast isolation of the Pacific, converged during Earhart's last flight, framing it as a perilous venture where human resolve met the unforgiving reality of nature and technology's limitations. The tantalizing final transmissions, punctuated by messages of dwindling fuel and the inability to locate their target, heralded the vanishing of one of the century's most iconic figures at the apex of her daring career. As we move deeper into the story, the events of this last flight not only set the stage for the frantic and expansive search that followed, but also seed the myriad theories and enduring mysteries that continue to captivate imaginations nearly a century later. The hope, courage, and gripping uncertainty that define this leg of the journey remain etched into history, a poignant reminder of the thin line between exploration and tragedy. Amelia Earhart's final flight presents a complex puzzle, a tapestry woven with fragmented radio transmissions, technical setbacks, conflicting eyewitness testimonies, and the persistent haunting absence of physical evidence. To fully appreciate the labyrinthine challenges faced during those final moments, it is imperative to dive deeply into the available evidence and understand how crucial communication failures and uncertain reports shaped the tragic narrative. The linchpin in Earhart's last journey was radio communication, a lifeline meant to connect her with the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca stationed near Howland Island, a tiny speck in the vast Pacific. As Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan, neared this minuscule atoll on July 2, 1937, intermittent radio signals were received by the Itasca, growing stronger as they reportedly closed in. Yet, despite these inbound messages, Earhart could not hear the Itasca's transmissions in return. This critical breakdown in two-way communication proved devastating. At 8:43 a.m. local time, Earhart's final voice message was hauntingly clear. They were running low on fuel, flying at just 1,000 feet, unable to see the island or reach the Itasca by radio. After that, silence. Close scrutiny reveals a web of technical oversights that sabotaged their means of navigation and communication. During repairs in Miami earlier that year, the Electra had its 250-foot flexible trailing antenna and associated gear entirely removed. This antenna was essential for long-range communication and for enabling land-based marine direction finders to secure bearings on Earhart's 500 kHz frequency. Stripped of this vital apparatus, the plane's capacity to transmit and receive was drastically impaired. Compounding this error was a misassignment of radio frequencies. Earhart instructed the Itasca to broadcast on 7.50 megacycles, 7,500 kHz, far beyond her aircraft's direction finder's max effective range, which was designed for 400 kHz signals. As a result, the primary navigation aid, the homing beacon, was rendered useless. Adding to the dilemma was an internal radio fault, likely a malfunction in the send-receive relay, which may have left Earhart's receiver without a functioning antenna. These intertwined technical failures created a perfect storm that rendered navigation and meaningful radio contact essentially impossible during the mission's final and most critical stage. Beyond the transmissions, eyewitness accounts from Lae, New Guinea, the last stop before the doomed leg, add more texture to this narrative of technological struggle. Local reports detail a range of maintenance activities undertaken on the Electra, spark plug changes, oil draining, repairs on the fuel pump and gyro horizon, suggesting mechanical concerns were actively being addressed. Yet, persistent radio difficulties were noted even before departure. The wireless operator reported being unable to contact Earhart during the flight from Darwin to Lae, and Earhart herself remarked on wavelength inconsistencies. These noted pre-flight complications hint that communication issues were embedded in the flight's fabric well before the critical Pacific crossing. Intriguingly, in the days after Earhart's disappearance, numerous operators, both governmental and amateur, reported receiving radio signals on frequencies historically associated with her aircraft. These post-loss signals were detected across wide geographic spans, from the Central Pacific to North America, Canada, and Australia, and included pleas for assistance and requests for bearings, sometimes identifying the speaker as Amelia Earhart herself. According to Lockheed engineers, the Electra's transmitter could only function effectively if the aircraft was on solid ground, raising the possibility that Earhart and Noonan survived an initial landing. This notion directly challenges the widely accepted theory that the plane simply crashed and sank into the Pacific. If genuine, these signals suggest a scenario in which the Electra made it to land, possibly on a remote island, where the crew persisted in sending radio messages before ultimately succumbing. Yet, despite the tantalizing whispers of these transmissions, the physical traces tell a story of frustrating absence. Over the decades, exhaustive searches covering vast swathes of ocean and remote islands have failed to produce conclusive debris from Earhart's Electra. The enduring void of tangible wreckage has been a major stumbling block to unraveling the mystery. Even advanced technological efforts have not yielded definitive results. In early 2024, Deep Sea Vision, an exploration company, announced that its underwater sonar imaging had revealed what appeared to be the Electra resting some 16,000 feet beneath the waves near Howland Island. This revelation was heralded as a breakthrough, driving hope for resolution. However, months of subsequent investigation revealed the object to be a natural rock formation, one that nature had cruelly crafted to mimic the shape and dimensions of the long-sought aircraft. This disappointment underscored the profound difficulty of definitive discovery in the vast, complex oceanic environment. The interplay of technical problems, faint post-loss radio signals, and the puzzling absence of wreckage illustrates the enormous challenges faced by investigators. The enigma is deepened by how pre-flight radio difficulties in Lae foreshadowed what would become a crippling communication collapse. While Earhart and Noonan's transmissions confirmed their proximity to Howland Island, the aircraft's inability to effectively receive guidance and navigate precisely sealed their fate, or at least sealed their disappearance's mystery. This intricate mosaic of evidence, fragmented radio calls never fully answered, technical decommissioning that compromised critical systems, reported but unverified signals possibly emanating from a stranded aircraft, coupled with decades of fruitless physical searches, converges into a complex shadow of uncertainty. It is a stark reminder of the unforgiving nature of early aviation challenges amid the vastness of the Pacific, and the limits of human technology and endurance in the face of such immense odds. As this chapter concludes, it is clear that the available evidence offers both clues and confounding questions. It paints a picture of a flight marked by hope, tenacity, and tragedy wrapped in technical misfortune and uncertainty. These elements set the stage for the many theories and hypotheses that seek to explain Amelia Earhart's disappearance, framing the enduring mystery that Silent Shadows will continue to explore. Amelia Earhart's disappearance has woven itself into the fabric of history as one of the most haunting and compelling mysteries of the 20th century. Over the decades, a variety of theories have emerged, attempting to explain the fate of this pioneering aviator and her navigator, Fred Noonan. Each theory offers a lens into the possible realities faced during those final moments over the vast Pacific Ocean, and today, we explore the prominent and competing explanations in detail, inviting you to weigh the evidence alongside the lingering questions. The theory most widely accepted by historians, researchers, and the U.S. Navy after their exhaustive search is commonly known as the crash and sink hypothesis. It paints a somber but pragmatic picture. Earhart and Noonan simply ran out of fuel while searching for the elusive, tiny speck of land that was Howland Island, and their aircraft subsequently plunged into the vast Pacific, swallowed by the relentless depths. This theory draws support from the series of communication failures during Earhart's final flight, especially the troubling breakdown in two-way radio contact. Earhart's transmissions to the Coast Guard cutter Itasca indicated increasing proximity, but she was unable to receive their signals in return, leaving her effectively navigating blind across the vast ocean. Her last message, charged with urgency and fading hope, was a plea acknowledging her fuel was nearly exhausted and that she could not locate the island. The extensive, multi-million-dollar search encompassing hundreds of thousands of square miles turned up no trace of wreckage or survivors, reinforcing the tragic conclusion that the Electra went down in the ocean's immensity, a final resting place far from sight or recovery. Yet, the silence of that ocean expanse has not quelled all speculation. A compelling alternative emerged decades ago, revolving around Nikumaroro, once known as Gardner Island. This hypothesis suggests that instead of sinking, Earhart and Noonan managed a forced landing on the rocky reefs of this then uninhabited atoll, some 350 nautical miles southeast of Howland Island. Proponents argue that they survived for a time as castaways, trying and perhaps failing to summon rescue through intermittent radio transmissions. What lends weight to this theory is a collection of intriguing pieces of potential evidence. Credible reports of post-disappearance radio signals heard on Earhart's known frequencies, sightings of habitation signs on Nikumaroro shortly after the disappearance, and a scatter of artifacts uncovered by expeditions, from an aluminum panel claimed to match parts of the Electra's structure, to a size 9 woman's shoe heel and personal items dating to the 1930s. In 1940, skeletal remains were found on Nikumaroro and initially identified as a European male. But modern forensic reanalysis has reopened debate, suggesting the bones could well be consistent with Earhart's physique, tall and narrow-framed, though without the original bones, definitive conclusions remain elusive. Yet, this theory also faces strong challenges. Critics argue that some artifact authenticity is dubious, rivet patterns on the alleged Electra parts do not align with the actual airplane, and the shoe size conflicts sharply with known details about Earhart's petite feet. Then there is the question of survivability and signaling. How could the pair have survived without successfully attracting rescue given the island's proximity to shipping lanes and the fact that British colonial residents were present years later without discovering any tangible evidence? These gaps leave the Nikumaroro hypothesis tantalizing but not conclusive, keeping alive a spark of hope wrapped in uncertainty. Another enduring theory, one steeped in intrigue and Cold War-era secrecy, posits that Earhart and Noonan were captured by Japanese forces, potentially as spies during a time of rising geopolitical tension in the Pacific. This narrative, fueled by rumors, anecdotal islander accounts, and a desire for a dramatic explanation, suggests they were held prisoner or worse. However, this theory has been systematically dismantled over time. Key evidence, including a photograph purported to show the aviators alive in captivity, was exposed as a photo taken years before their disappearance. Japanese ship logs place alleged transport vessels far from the area on the day Earhart vanished, and navigational realities render it highly unlikely that she could have flown to Japanese-held islands given the limited fuel remaining. From a strategic standpoint, it would have been illogical for Japanese forces to hold a globally famous figure captive without leveraging her fame for propaganda or negotiation. Moreover, investigations into supposed government cover-ups and prison reports have revealed these claims to be hoaxes or mistaken anecdotes. While captivating, this theory does not rest on firm ground. Beyond these principal ideas, other more unconventional and largely unsubstantiated theories have surfaced. Some suggest Earhart's disappearance was a planned suicide, though there is no credible evidence supporting this dark notion. Others claim she survived by assuming a new identity, living incognito for decades under an alias, with one popular speculation linking her to a New Jersey woman named Irene Craigmile Bolam, a claim thoroughly debunked by Bolam herself and investigators. Rumors also floated that Earhart became the infamous World War II propaganda broadcaster Tokyo Rose, a notion disproved by those who studied those broadcasts extensively and found no connection. These fringe theories, while colorful and sometimes sensational, lack meaningful evidence and are generally dismissed by serious researchers. In the end, the story of Amelia Earhart's disappearance remains a delicate balance of mystery and measured possibility. The crash and sink theory provides a rational explanation grounded in the known challenges of the flight and the ocean's vastness, yet it fails to answer every question. The Nikomororo hypothesis offers a glimmer of survival and resilience, inviting us to imagine a more drawn-out struggle against desperate odds, but it rests on circumstantial evidence and debated artifacts. The capture theory and other speculative ideas capture our imagination but unravel under scrutiny. As we ponder these theories, we are reminded that the allure of Earhart's story lies not only in what is known but in the potent unknown, the silent spaces between fact and conjecture that keep her memory alive and beckon continual inquiry. The enigma endures, a testament to human curiosity and the quest for truth where history, technology, and legend intertwine. Our journey through these competing theories closes here for now, but their echoes extend into what follows, as we next delve into the relentless modern search for answers in a case that continues to haunt the shadows of aviation history. The story of Amelia Earhart's disappearance is not only a chapter in history but an ongoing saga of human determination and technological evolution. Since Earhart vanished during her 1937 flight, countless efforts have aimed to unravel the mystery, reflecting a relentless quest that spans over 8 decades. What began as a massive search operation in the immediate aftermath of her disappearance has transformed through the years into a sophisticated interplay of traditional exploration and cutting-edge technology. Immediately after communication was lost on July 2, 1937, the U.S. Coast Guard and Navy launched one of the largest search and rescue operations of its time. Ships and aircraft scoured approximately 250,000 square miles of the Pacific Ocean near Howland Island, deploying every resource available in an effort to find any trace of Earhart, navigator Fred Noonan, or their Lockheed Electra 10E. Despite the scale and intensity of this massive 1937 search, no conclusive evidence was ever uncovered. The extensive but fruitless search served as the first testament to the challenges posed by the vast, deep ocean and the elusive nature of the mystery. As the decades passed, the search for Earhart's fate did not wane. Instead, it evolved alongside advancements in technology. Modern expeditions have taken a high-tech approach, utilizing underwater drones or remotely operated vehicles (ROVs) capable of exploring depths previously inaccessible to human divers. These are paired with sophisticated sonar systems designed to map the ocean floor in high detail. The hope is that these tools might finally detect remnants of Earhart's plane beneath the Pacific waves. A notable example emerged in January 2024 when Deep Sea Vision, a company based in Charleston, announced a dramatic discovery. Employing state-of-the-art sonar imaging on an underwater drone, they claimed to have located an object about 16,000 feet beneath the surface, roughly 100 miles from Howland Island, that appeared to resemble the Lockheed Electra. This announcement generated worldwide excitement, raising hopes that the elusive aircraft had finally been found. However, the excitement was short-lived. By November 2024, after more detailed sonar investigations, the company retracted the claim upon identifying the object conclusively as a natural rock formation, an incredibly cruel formation, as the CEO described it. This episode highlighted the remarkable progress in underwater exploration technology, but equally underscored the difficulties in interpreting sonar data in such a challenging environment. A reminder that even with the best equipment, the line between hope and disappointment is fragile. Beyond oceanographic technology, search efforts have also embraced the power of satellite imagery and archaeological investigation. In an initiative spearheaded by Purdue University, which notably supported Earhart's aviation endeavors during her life, a new expedition is slated for 2025 to explore Nikomororo, previously known as Gardner Island. This uninhabited coral atoll has long been speculated by some researchers to be a potential landing site for Earhart and Noonan following their disappearance. Purdue's planned Taraya Object expedition aims to investigate what satellite photos taken in 2015 might reveal, specifically the presence of a mysterious object, partially visible in the island's lagoon after a powerful cyclone passed through in 2014. The object appears to be large, metallic, and in line with the size and shape of parts of Earhart's Electra. This intriguing lead fuels hope that tangible evidence may still lie where the ocean meets land. With an academic foundation and a $500,000 credit line from the Purdue Research Foundation, this expedition embodies a new chapter of scientific rigor and institutional backing in the search. The promise of archaeological and forensic methods extends beyond finding large artifacts. It encompasses the painstaking examination of minute clues, such as bone fragments previously discovered on Nikomororo. Although the original bones have been lost over time, forensic anthropologists have revisited the data and measurements collected in 1940. Using modern forensic analysis and computer-assisted methods such as Fordisk, experts like Richard Jantz have reassessed the bones' characteristics, concluding that they are entirely consistent with Earhart's unique physique, tall and narrow-framed, while also ruling out most other individuals. This application of modern forensic science, blending historical records with today's analytical tools, illustrates how new interpretations can emerge from old evidence, offering fresh possibilities in the absence of physical specimens. Yet, challenges persist: loss of original materials, environmental degradation, and the complexities of definitively linking artifacts to a decades-old disappearance pose formidable obstacles. Despite these hurdles, what is most striking is the unwavering human fascination that fuels this multi-generational search. Earhart's story resonates not just as a historical curiosity, but as a symbol of courage, mystery, and the enduring quest for truth. Technological advancements not only rekindle hope, but also deepen the commitment to finding answers, demonstrating how science and exploration have become intertwined with this timeless enigma. This persistent quest is a testament to our desire to understand our past and to honor those whose stories remain unfinished. From the massive naval fleets of 1937 to the precise sonar sweeps of unmanned drones, from grainy satellite images to detailed bone analyses, every method reflects a chapter in an ongoing narrative driven by curiosity and respect. In following this journey, from the earliest massive search to the ambitious high-tech expeditions planned for the near future, we witness the evolution of human ingenuity responding to one of the 20th century's most haunting mysteries. Though the waters of the Pacific guard their secrets fiercely, the blend of tenacity, technology, and scientific advancement holds the promise of someday illuminating the final truth behind Amelia Earhart's disappearance. As this new phase of exploration unfolds, it upholds not only the memory of a pioneering aviator, but also the spirit of unyielding inquiry that defines our relationship with the unknown. The story continues, propelled by the steady rhythm of progress and the enduring hope that one day the silent shadows of the past will finally reveal their secrets. Amelia Earhart's disappearance in 1937 was not the end of her story. In many ways, it marked the beginning of a legend that has grown and endured across generations and continents. Her vanishing from the sky transformed her from a groundbreaking aviator into a cultural icon, embodying the spirit of adventure, perseverance, and mystery. The unanswered questions surrounding her fate have not diminished her legacy. Rather, they have fueled a fascination that keeps her memory vibrant and relevant even decades later. Earhart's impact began long before her disappearance, as she carved new paths for women in aviation and beyond. Her courage and determination challenged societal norms at a time when women's roles were largely restricted. As a trailblazer, she proved that women could excel in fields dominated by men, not only in the cockpit but also as advocates for women's rights and equality. Her leadership in founding organizations like the 99s fostered a community of female pilots who continue to inspire new generations. After her disappearance, Earhart's legacy took on an additional dimension as her story became an enduring mystery. Numerous memorials now honor her memory. Airports, museums, schools, and bridges bear her name, serving as constant reminders of her pioneering achievements. Even celestial bodies, including a minor planet and a lunar crater, commemorate her. These tangible tributes reflect the widespread respect and admiration she commands. Her story has been retold in countless films, books, and documentaries, each iteration inspiring audiences to dream bigger and push boundaries. Movies such as Flight for Freedom and the 2009 biopic Amelia invite new generations to engage with her life and the mystery of her disappearance. Through literature and media portrayals, her image as a fearless adventurer and feminist icon remains firmly etched in public consciousness. Perhaps most profoundly, Earhart's story continues to inspire women, especially those pursuing careers in aviation, engineering, and STEM fields. In a world still grappling with gender disparities, her determination and accomplishments stand as a beacon of possibility. The enigma of her disappearance paradoxically adds to this inspiration. It suggests that the quest for knowledge and the spirit of exploration are ongoing, encouraging curiosity, innovation, and resilience. Intriguingly, the mystery of Earhart's fate plays a vital role in amplifying her legend. The absence of definitive answers has kept her story alive in a way that few historical figures experience. Rather than fading into obscurity, she remains a subject of investigation, debate, and speculation worldwide. This unresolved mystery invites reflection not only on Earhart herself, but on broader themes of human courage, the limits of technology and navigation, and the vast, unknowable expanse of the natural world. In examining Earhart's aftermath and legacy, we see a paradox. The greatest tragedy of her life, the disappearance that cut her journey short, also ensured that her story would never be forgotten. Through memorials, media, and the ongoing search for answers, Amelia Earhart endures as a symbol of the human spirit's boundless ambition and the mysteries that continue to captivate our collective imagination. Her life and unresolved fate resonate deeply within culture and memory, reminding us of both the heights we can reach and the mysteries that remain just beyond our grasp. As we reflect on her story, we honor not only her achievements, but also the enduring inspiration she provides to dreamers and explorers everywhere. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan's disappearance stands as one of the most enduring enigmas of modern history, a mystery that continues to captivate and confound nearly a century later. Despite exhaustive search efforts spanning decades and a multitude of sophisticated technologies deployed across vast stretches of ocean, the definitive fate of their Lockheed Electra remains elusive. What began as an ambitious circumnavigation flight took a sudden and haunting turn on July 2, 1937, when their last known transmissions declared low fuel and loss of sight of Howland Island, the minuscule speck of land they sought amid the immensity of the Pacific. From that point forward, there are only fragments of radio signals, tantalizing artifacts, conflicting eyewitness accounts, and myriad theories, all converging on a puzzle that refuses to be solved. At the heart of this mystery lies a complex interplay of human ambition and the limitations of technology, set against the boundless vastness and unpredictability of the natural world. Amelia Earhart was not just an aviator. She was a pioneer whose very spirit embodied pushing boundaries and daring to embrace the unknown. Yet, even with all the skill, planning, and pioneering spirit she brought to that final flight, the technical challenges proved formidable. Critical navigation equipment was impaired, radio communications were flawed, hampered by the removal of essential antennas and incorrect frequency settings, and the smallest errors in a flight over thousands of miles could mean missing their tiny target by some of the most unforgiving distances conceivable. The vast, open ocean is no mere backdrop. It is a relentless and indifferent force that swallows ships, planes, and secrets alike. It is this scale and indifference that stymied the massive search efforts launched in 1937 and continues to foreshadow any future attempts to locate remnants of the Electra or its intrepid passengers. Over the years, reports of potential debris have been debunked, and even exciting sonar images have turned out to be natural rock formations, underscoring the immense difficulty of distinguishing truth from illusion in such a vast, dynamic environment. Yet, the story does not reside solely in the ocean depths. Alternative theories have emerged, each reflecting different facets of hope and speculation. The possibility that Earhart and Noonan made a forced landing on remote Nikomaroro Island and perhaps survived as castaways captures the imagination, supported by credible but disputed radio signals heard after their disappearance, artifacts found on the island, and forensic re-examinations of bones recovered decades ago. Although definitive proof remains out of reach and counterarguments abound, this theory reminds us how survival can mean moments stretched against odds, and how traces may yet lie hidden in overlooked corners of the world. In contrast, other theories, such as capture by Japanese forces, have largely been discredited by meticulous historical research and incontrovertible evidence debunking key claims. Still, their persistence in popular discourse reveals the human desire to find meaning and explanation in absence, sometimes reaching for shadowy narratives when the truth remains obscured. Beyond theories and investigations, what persists is the human fascination with a mystery that mixes the tangible with the enigmatic, human courage and dreams, technological frailty, and nature's immensity. Earhart's disappearance is a prism through which we explore our vulnerabilities, aspirations, and the limits of what we can know and control. It invites us to reflect on how the best laid plans can be undone by unforeseen circumstances, and how even our most advanced technologies are but tools navigating vast uncertainties. For listeners of Silent Shadows, this story is more than history. It is an open invitation for mindful curiosity. It prompts reflection on the nature of such mysteries, how they ignite imagination, inspire relentless inquiry, and demand patience and humility before the unknown. Who were Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan beyond the headlines? What lessons can we learn from the convergence of human spirit, flawed technology, and an unforgiving natural world? And, importantly, what might you, the listener, contribute to this ongoing saga? The search for answers continues to be a collective endeavor, fueled by shared stories, fresh insights, and respectfully posed questions. As we close this chapter on the enduring enigma, remember that some mysteries remain unresolved not for lack of effort but because they challenge us to embrace complexity and uncertainty. Amelia Earhart's legacy is not solely that of a vanished aviator, but of a timeless symbol of adventure, courage, and the persistent human quest to explore the silent shadows where history and mystery converge. The story continues, inviting each of us to look deeper, think critically, and perhaps offer new perspectives to a puzzle that still waits for its final piece.